You are now live.
All right, well, welcome everybody to the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting for Frontenac Township, Frontenac County. I have the agenda in front of me, so I'll just call the meeting to order at 10:02. And I'll just move on to the second point, adoption of the agenda, that the agenda for April 5th, 2022 meeting be approved. Can I get a mover and a seconder?
I'll move it.
Okay, all right, Kurt, and a seconder, Bill? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? I don't believe we have anything there. Number 4, adoption of the minutes from the January 11th, 2022 meeting.
Also move, Mr. Chair.
Yep. All right, Bill, and I have a seconder.
I'll second it.
Okay, and Kurt. I don't believe there's any presentations at all. Number 6, reports to the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Jeanette, you said that I guess you got some stuff you were going to speak to.
Sorry, thank you, Neil. Yes, so the first report on the agenda is the redevelopment of the old house, or what we call the old house. It's our county administration building. So as you can see on the agenda, a site plan has been submitted to the City of Kingston for the project, as well as drawn up documents for the house itself. So I'd like to introduce the committee to Sonia Bolton, who is our manager of community planning. She is responsible for the site plan, which has been sent to the City of Kingston. I'm going to guess that the site plan itself will go to the City of Kingston's Accessibility Advisory Committee, but we did want to bring it here as well for your input. I'd also like to introduce Kelly Pender, who is our Chief Administrative Officer here, who is taking the lead on the architectural design plans for the interior of the building and working closely with the architects and hopefully having that RFP out soon. So I'm going to turn it over now to Sonia and Kelly, who will walk us through the plans.
Great, thank you, Jeanette. Good morning, everybody. Kelly, did you want to give a little bit of background to the committee first, maybe about the project, and then I can speak specifically to the site plan and maybe share it on the screen?
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Sonia. My apologies, I'm losing my voice here. I'm down and out for a day or two here. So this project started approximately 2 years ago. Well, even longer than that. In 2013, council adopted a recommendation to look at the old house and the administrative office. And you know, my favorite comment is, as old houses go, it's a beautiful old house, but it's not a very nice office space. It doesn't function very well. The rooms are all chopped up. So about 3 years ago, we commenced on an architectural project along with the Cataraqui Region Conservation Authority to look at a small addition where the current Bud Clayton room is, and a much wider entrance foyer area to improve accessibility and social distancing, and a small addition at the back for a collaboration space. So as Madam Clerk noted, this site is within the City of Kingston, so technically within their jurisdiction, but we're always interested in feedback. Appendix E is the accessibility checklist that the City of Kingston uses. That is there for your guidance and gives you a sense of the things that they've looked at and the comments that they provided to the architect throughout the project. So as it sits right now, we'll be going to tender in the next couple of weeks and anticipate that by the end of May, we'll be making a decision whether to proceed with the project. And I think everybody understands the amount of uncertainty with respect to large construction projects. Our original budget estimate was between $4 and $4.5 million, and we expect that'll be that the prices will come in at more than that. The other difficulty is with timelines with contractors and suppliers. So for example, right now, glass and steel are the two things holding up a lot of projects. So the actual construction period when we were initially looking at it was 9 months to 12 months. And now we're looking at 12 to 15 months. So there's a number of changes. Council will have some significant decisions to make going forward. But we think that we've made a lot of very good improvements in the overall functionality of the footprint of the building, in particular in the council chambers, the front foyer, and the collaboration meeting room spaces. And we're really excited to have the Conservation Authority as a partner on this project. So with that, over to Sonia, and she can walk you through the general layout, and I'll remain with you if there's any questions.
Great, thank you,
Sonia.
Kelly. Thank you. So can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So just to orient you, so this is the Fairmount Home Complex over here. And then this area here is the existing old house, plus there is a small addition right now on the east end. So what you see in hatching is what is proposed. So this would be part of the extension of the new lobby space. This was sort of the more communal space that Kelly was mentioning. And these would be the new council chambers over here. And then there would be interior renovations to the main structure itself. There have been most of these are existing pathways of travel. There would be some improvements here into the new council chambers, as well as some improvements to the parking. And we would be reorienting some of the accessible parking spaces and designing them in accordance with the City of Kingston's current standards for the Type A and Type B spaces as well. I'm just going to scroll down here. This just gives you a perspective. This would be the south. This would just be the rear addition. So this would be the south facing. So this is if you're driving north on Battersea Road, this is what you would see. This would be the front from the north side. So the existing old house with the additions on it here. This is the basement construction plan. So there are plans to improve the basement space for, I believe it's both paramedics as well as CRCA staff who are going to be.
Sonia,
Yeah.
could I just get you to hold for 1 second? And I do apologize because it's totally my fault. Mr. Yerksa is just joining our meeting now, and I want to make sure that he's fully set up so that he can.
Okay, sorry.
David, are you set to go? Are you able to see your screen and what's being presented?
Yes.
You're good to go? Okay, thank you so much. All right, sorry, Sonia, you can continue.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Jeanette. So then on to the next page, this would be the ground floor construction. So the public here would come in through the new vestibule with the lobby. There would be a reception desk here, along with, there would be 2 washrooms here, including one, I believe, that would be accessible as well. So there's a shared collaboration space, some meeting rooms, offices, and then this would be the new council space down here. And this would be the second floor. So this would just be, this just involves the existing old house and some interior renovations. And then these are the elevations as presented. So this would be the north, if you're on the campus property, and then this would be the south. If you were looking up Battersea Road, you would see the new additions on either end here. So yeah, so we have applied to the City of Kingston for a modification to the site plan agreement for the county's property here. We're expecting technical comments back within hopefully the next couple of weeks. And we have also included with our submission the accessibility checklist that the city requires be completed with each site plan application, which I believe a copy was provided to the members of the committee. So if there are specific questions, between myself and Kelly, we would be happy to answer any questions.
Sonia, the only other thing I'd add is that we've really taken a great effort to improve wayfinding within the building. And if you've been in the building, you know that it's, we like to call it the Get Smart doors, because you've got to go through 19 doors to get through to, meeting room space and different spaces. So the architect has done a really good job of simplifying that, and the wayfinding signage that's going to be installed should make navigating the building a lot easier for visitors.
Great, thank you, Kelly.
I can see that being very helpful, because you're right. When you do get into that building, you could hide very easily.
And Neil, you're too young to remember Get Smart.
I remember Get Smart. I remember Get Smart. Hey, I'm 56.
Bill definitely remembers it.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Kelly or Sonia, with the addition of these, when they're completed, what are we looking at for a life cycle on these additions? Are we looking at 30 years, 40 years? Or can you look in your crystal ball and give us an opinion? Or is it a legitimate question at this point?
So I'll give my accountant's opinion. The accountant requires us to depreciate the building over 50 years, but as a general rule of thumb, it'll require a major upgrade renovation at about 25 years. So assuming we move in 2023, it's going to be good till 2048, 2050 with a renovation at that point. The difficult part is that since that recommendation in 2013, we literally have done nothing to the building. So we haven't replaced an inch of carpet or painted a single wall or made any upgrades to the building, waiting for this project. So it's
right.
It's timely, let's say.
Thank you.
Kelly, sorry, could I also add to that, in the front vestibule, there is an accessible washroom, to confirm what Sonia said, an accessible washroom has been placed there. I know that when the staff committee reviewed the site, Neil Allen was a member of that committee that took us through to make sure that we were ensuring that, people using mobility aids were able to get through. And there's also been a large space, closed off, not closed off sort of, but allocated in the new council chamber to ensure that accessible seating is also going to be available for those who are using mobility aids. So I just wanted to add that to the project. I believe there is a drawing attached to the agenda that shows the actual furniture in the council chamber that does outline that there is some accessible seating there to ensure that everyone is able to enter that facility.
As well as a large universal washroom across from the council chambers. So on the main floor, there are 2 accessible washrooms or universal washrooms.
Now, through you, Mr. Chair, again, Bill here to Sonia or to Kelly, the City of Kingston Planning Division accessibility checklist, was this completed from the drawings, or was there an individual from the city that actually, building department, who actually looked at it and was satisfied with the plan?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the blank checklist is provided by the city, and then it was the architect that went through and completed the form, referencing their drawings while they did that. And then they need to provide that form with the drawings back to the planning department. And that'll be reviewed by the planner on the file that's been assigned to review the file to ensure that that everything is as the architect has outlined in the checklist.
So a follow-up question to you then through Mr. Chair would be that until the city signs off on this, we probably wouldn't be moving forward.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do require site plan approval, or at least to get far enough along in the site plan process to then be awarded the building permit, or at least the foundation permit, to move ahead with construction. So that's why we've started that process, and they're currently reviewing the drawings right now for site plan.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for that information. It was great. It was very informative. Janet, did you want to speak to point B, the update report?
For sure, but first I'd just like to thank Sonia and Kelly, for coming to our meeting and taking the committee through these drawings. It's a really major project for the County of Frontenac, and I'm so pleased that they came today and were able to take the committee through all of the accessibility upgrades that are being put into this new facility. So thank you,
Well,
Kelly.
you're very welcome. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the morning.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.
So item B is simply just an update report on what has been taking place at the county over the last quarter. So I'm not sure if there's going to be any questions on the report, but the first outlines the Kmp Trail. So as always, we'd like to keep the committee updated on the Kmp Trail. It is covered under the Design of Public Spaces standards, so we do ensure accessibility there. So as you can see, the benches have been ordered and they will be put in this summer, as well as the edge protection is going to be underway. One of the main things there that I do want to point out with these Kmp Trail updates is that there is a project currently on the county's Engage Frontenac community engagement portal. So you're more than welcome to hit that link and go on to the portal. Citizens are able to go on there and make comments. They're able to ask questions. They're able to make suggestions. They're even able to start little forums if there's pieces on the trail that are missing. So I really encourage the committee to go on to that forum. You can perhaps even see some of the comments being made in terms of things that might be missing regarding accessibility. So I really would encourage the committee to go on and take a look at that. The next was the redevelopment of the administration building, which Mr. Pender and Ms. Bolton have already taken the committee through. The next one there is some provincial updates. So just as an FYI, Julie Sawchuk has accepted the position of chair of the new standards committee that will be reviewing the design of public spaces standard in the near future. So that is on the provincial checklist to review that standard coming up. And perhaps, again, that may be a significant way that the county can put another project on our Engage Frontenac website to say that the province is reviewing this standard. Here's the standard. Here's what it says. Is anything missing? Do you have any suggestions? And that way the county can perhaps make comments to the province on the standards based on our own public consultation. Number 4 there is accessible resources for local businesses. So I know it's been sort of a project or a goal or vision of the committee in the past to make sure that businesses in the Frontenacs are receiving up-to-date information on accessibility, how they're able to make their businesses accessible, what they're actually required to do under the Act, because it's a little bit different for public and private sector. So there's some links that we have put onto our Frontenac website under our accessibility tab. I was hesitant to put anything in terms of funding because there are funding opportunities for nonprofit organizations. There's the Enabling Change grant that comes out on an annual basis, but it's only open to nonprofits. It's not open to businesses. So there really isn't much out there for businesses except for perhaps the Trillium Foundation Fund. So I was hesitant to put that on there. But then we've also got the Access Award there, the legislation itself, and then training requirements that all businesses, whether you're profit or not for profit, that you're required to train your staff. And then there's also been a link that's going to now be sent to the Frontenac business site. So we have another website, the Frontenac, I believe it's Frontenac.ca. It's the business site. So those links will be placed to that site as well. So that's just another little update. The next one there is the Sherbet Lake Downtown Revitalization Project. So I did send an email out to the committee just following our last meeting. There was a request there from Adriana Barbary to have input from the Accessibility Committee on some plans that she sent around and some other items that were sent around. So we did touch base with Adriana and spoke to her about maybe touching base with Kurt Halliday. We've done this in the past where a project is taking place in one of the specific townships that we sort of have the township work with their community members. So Kurt Halliday is the community member for Central Frontenac. So he will be working closely with them when they start doing site visits and getting their foot on the ground there. And I believe that was it. So that's all that's in the update report. That's all that's been happening here at the county. So, but if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
The county engagement portal, do you find that, are you finding that that's being used a lot? Like, because it's open to anybody, right?
It is open to anybody, but you do need to register. So participants register, and then they're able to, anybody can see it, but in order to make comments, you do need to register. I believe it's being used quite heavily, more so in our economic development department, because they do more public engagement. We do have a project up there currently, and that's, I think I've spoken to the committee about that in the past, and that is our accessibility page. So we do have a page on there that looks at accessibility in the county, and I'm going to see if I can pull it up here. So it's help promote accessibility in Frontenac County. So I did bring this to the committee last year because we used this forum to promote our Access Award and in hopes of getting some additional nominations. That page also includes video clips from previous Access Award winners. And there's also at the bottom, there's a news feed where we put accessibility stories. There's a forum there where you can start your own conversations. And then there's a Q&A area there as well, where members of the public can pose questions. And then there's also a page there where you can pose ideas. So what happens is if somebody has a question and they pose a question into the site, it will automatically get emailed to us. I have not received any to date on that. But again, this is just our accessibility in Frontenac Engage site. And we've opted to leave that up as a running project because it's really an area where residents themselves can add some good news stories about some of the things that are happening in the Frontenacs.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
I can certainly speak to the proposed project site that's going up for our annual plan, but I'll speak to that with the next report.
All right, well, thank you for those updates. Very informative. Okay, we'll move on to number 7, then the township updates. I see we got one in from North Frontenac, from Eric. Thanks, Eric. I don't know if anyone had a chance to look at it or had any questions or anything about Eric's submission. All right, I'll move on to communications.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, if we could back up for just 1 second, there is one additional report on there, and that is the initial review of the 2023-2027 multi-year accessibility plan. So I put this up as a separate report because our plan expires at the end of the year. So we are going to start working on a new plan which will take us from 2023 to 2027. So this is very initial stages. And again, as I noted, the first stage is that we are right now drafting a project to go up on that Engage Frontenac portal to receive public comments on that, on the plan and where we can make improvements, anything like that. So I did send a link out to the committee members, and I'm just going to share my screen here so that you're able to see it. So is everybody seeing my screen right now that says 2022 Frontenac Multi-Year Accessibility Plan Review?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is sort of what our project portal, we've started out here. So again, it includes some references to the AODA and some of our requirements. It shows our current plan. So there is a link there to our current multi-year plan. And it sort of outlines what the county and the Frontenacs are committed to in terms of having accessible customer service, removing physical barriers that prevent those with disabilities from accessing full community life and full participation in the community. It gives a link to if you do have feedback or you do want to issue a feedback to us, there's a link there to our customer service complaint form on our website. It does have me down as the contact person if there are any questions. So this is just the initial part of the page. And what will come is a couple of other tabs. So we're going to have tabs for ideas, which will get put into there. And so once you have that idea tab, members of the public can click into that tab, and they can give ideas on, how we can remove barriers, some of the services that need improving, where improvements can be made in terms of customer service, ideas on how to make it more barrier-free for our seniors, or all those sorts of things. So it's going to allow people to provide ideas. And then there's also a questions tab that we would want to add as well, so that anybody who does have questions, they can certainly contact us. And then the other thing I wanted to add there is a tab under the AODA, which is the Integrated Accessible Service Standard Regulation. So originally, when the standards came out, the customer service was passed as a single standard. And then the other four, the information and communication, the employment, the transportation, and the design of public spaces, were all passed under the Integrated Accessible Service Standard Regulation. But since that time, all 5 of them have been put into what is called the IASR. So it outlines all of those 5 standards, what the requirements are for municipalities and how we have to adhere to those. So I will also put a separate tab on there outlining the IASR and how we're moving the county towards ensuring that we're compliant with all of those standards, and to make sure that we're taking those standards into account whenever we provide new services, new technology, new communication tools, new developments, to make sure that we're not creating any new barriers for those with disabilities. So those are some of the things that will be added to this site. But one of the things that we maybe wanted to pose to the committee is, are there specific things that you're looking for from the public? Because we have an opportunity up there to have questions that we want to ask the public, like, do you live with a disability? And if so, are you able to access all of the services in your respective township or in adjacent townships? Are you able to participate fully in community life? Are there things that are there things that the committee is looking for from the public that we can put those questions up there to the public as well? So again, these are initial stages, but this is sort of the first step in sort of looking at this plan as we move forward. So I'm going to stop sharing now so that we can all see each other's faces, because when you share your screen, we get that very small look. So I'm just going to throw that out to the committee now.
Here's one suggestion that an issue I've noticed over the years. We frequently see people talking about fully participate. It's often in public language. And fully participate is kind of a bottomless thing. I mean, what does it amount to? I've run into a lot of people who don't answer that kind of thing because they don't know what it means. What counts as not fully participating. And a way that public sector organizations and nonprofits have developed to sort of hone that a little is to talk about, do we put up barriers to your participation? So because, well, there could be social reasons that one can't fully participate, and when you talk to the public, they sort of mix what is actually a public barrier with what is essentially a social barrier. And that, of course, we can't legislate. Just a thought. I mean, if you want better responses to some of this public inquiry, making the questions more specific, more related to the actual process, like barriers, might help. Thanks.
Thanks, Kurt. I really like that suggestion, and I think I'm going to move the language from, I'm going to change our language now to, do we put up barriers for that?
Okay,
Thank you so much for that.
sure.
Okay, well, thank you for that update as well, Jeanette. Just moving on our agenda then. I don't think there's anything under other business then. The next would be just our next meeting.
So I do have July 5th there as the next meeting because the committee typically tends to meet on the first Tuesday of the month, and we do meet quarterly. So this will give us ample time, if the committee is okay with this, that we get this project up on the Engage website within the next month. So hopefully this will allow us by July 5th. That will give me sufficient time to bring sort of a draft forward with comments and such. But does that work? Does that meeting work for the remainder of the committee? And I would note that as you found out earlier in the meeting, the building is being redeveloped. We do expect, if everything goes well and the tenders go well and council approves the construction project, that we will need to start moving out of this building in the beginning of June. So we are already starting to pack up the building, which is why we're sort of unable to hold in-person meetings here right now. So the meeting, and this does seem to be a better format right now for the committee in terms of being able to access the meetings, because I know we have a couple of people now who are unable to actually get into a physical location. So is the Zoom working for everybody, number one, and does July 5th work for everybody?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Good for me. Yep.
Sorry, David, you're muted. If I could just get you to unmute. And again, my sincerest apologies for the mix-up this morning.
Unmute. Jeanette?
Yes.
I've got a couple of things that I would like to, the July 5th is good for me, but
Okay.
I also have got some stuff that I would like to bring to you that I was getting ready when I got a couple of some complaints that are not a little bit of complaints to put in as well. Can I ask you?
You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. That you and your wife are not able to
Yeah.
attend a wedding.
Yeah, myself and my wife, or Ann, were not able to attend a wedding due to there was no railing and
On the stairs.
there was about 8 or 9 stairs to go up, and because Ann has a walker and I've got a walker, and
Get around this. That's,
Sorry, can I just ask a quick question, David? Where was the wedding? Which building?
It was in Kingston, or just what was it? Joyceville.
do you know the name of the actual hall though?
Yeah, it was in Joyceville.
The golf course.
Uh,
The golf course?
yeah, it was at
in
a golf-
Joyceville.
It was at a golf course in Joyceville.
It would be
Okay.
the Colonnade Golf Course.
In a barn
Yeah.
at the golf course?
Um,
Apparently in a barn at a golf
yeah,
course?
partly it was in a barn at a golf course in Joyceville, Ontario.
Okay.
Okay,
And also
the drugstore.
the drugstore here in Sherbet Lake does have a ramp, but does not have a handicap button to get into or into the drugstore. Also, the
Marina,
marina does not have a ramp or a handicap button.
Gray's Grocery
Gray's
Store.
Grocery does not have a ramp or a button to get into for a handicapped person or for a handicapped person.
Home Hardware.
Home Hardware does have a ramp, but no handicap button.
Rams Esso.
Rams Esso does not have a ramp or a handicap button to get into.
And
And
only raising, I'm not sure what that meant, and only raising. Okay, golf, no ramp, no railing, and is 9 stairs. Okay, that's the golf course.
yeah,
you were talking about.
that's the golf course at 9 stairs at the golf course.
And then Cardinal Cafe.
And
no
the Cardinal Cafe does not have a handicap button to get into.
Oh, okay. It is the Colonnade Golf Course.
Yeah, it's at the
Country Club.
Colonnade
Course.
golf course at the country club.
Colonnade Golf Course and Country Club.
Colonnade golf course and country club.
So can I just ask a quick favor? If you could, if you're able to, are you able to send me those in an email? So just to keep in mind as well, we do not oversee private businesses. So even though they may not have an accessible ramp or an accessible door opener, we don't oversee private businesses. We only see municipal offices. And so the best route for something like this would be to contact the business themselves. Only because the AODA does not mandate our committee to oversee private business. We only oversee the municipalities. And under the, and again, this would be more so a question for a building official because I don't have that area of expertise. But I believe it's only when you're redeveloping rebuilds or new builds or redevelopments that are required to meet the built standard under the Building Act. So when they put things in like ramps or automatic door openers, they are, they're not required to do that. So they do that simply to increase their clientele, to allow their clientele to enter the building. So my thought would be you can certainly send those to me, but unless it's an actual municipal building, we wouldn't forward it to them. But you did say the marina. Is the marina a municipal building?
I would
And
presume.
perhaps McDonald could answer.
Private ownership.
Private ownership, yeah. So if it's private ownership, you would have to reach out to the building, to the businesses themselves.
All right.
Yeah. It's kind of surprising, but the original concept was that if the public sector becomes accessible, then the private sector and the nonprofit sector, et cetera, will somehow pick up on it. It's kind of trickled down. It was never very real.
And again, it's an education piece because unless you live with a disability, you don't always see these things. So unless you're actually living with a disability, you don't think to hit that automatic door button opener. So sometimes the best way, we reach out to businesses, and I know that Mr. Allen has done this so many times in the past in his township in South Frontenac, that where something has come up where he's found that it's not accessible, he reaches out to them, and 9 times out of the 10 they didn't realize that, and they try to make attempts to fix it. So
I was just going to say that's really what it comes down to, because sometimes, many times they're just not aware, right? And most times they're looking for feedback, any kind of feedback that would improve their, their customer base. The gas station here in Harrison was the latest one. It was just they had a great accessible location that had been recently sort of revamped, but they positioned some of their products and some of their decorations in places that it made it inaccessible. And just going and having a conversation with them, they were really open to feedback, and within like a day they had a bunch of stuff moved around. So I mean, the businesses, they want to hear where they can make changes that are that improve the possibility of customers coming in.
Yeah.
And to quote Neil's favorite line is the devil is in the detail. And I always recall that one example that Neil gave where there was a hot dog cart or some sort of food vending cart in one of the parks in South Frontenac, and they really wanted to make it accessible. So they put this nice cement pad up there so that people with mobility aids could access the food counter. But you couldn't get up to the pad because they forgot to, the pad was raised. So a lot of times when we're looking at ramps, businesses could have in their minds, we want to be accessible, we want to be inclusive. So they put a ramp on and then they just forget the detail of the automatic door opener.
And sometimes it just comes down to making an accommodation of some kind too. Like a lot of chip trucks, for example, in the township, in the county are not accessible. Their windows are a bit, it seems like they're 6 feet off the ground. And so a lot of times, a number of the different chip trucks that I go to, I just go to the side door and you just talk to them right there. You get they'll bring the food out to you. It's much easier than trying to reach up above your head to, reach this window where they serve most of their customers. I mean, like I said, it all just starts with the conversation.
But
I'm really
sorry.
Sorry.
Could we possibly do some little thing in public in relation to this? Because this keeps coming up, doesn't it? What about a public statement of some kind, or just a little flyer, maybe an ad in the newspaper that started with what our mission is, and then had, say, a second paragraph where we encourage members of the public, especially people with disabilities, to become more active in giving a response of the sort Neil is so used to and so good at, to businesses, to help them understand that there's a real public interest here and a business interest in becoming more accessible and understanding how it works. And a little addendum, one big difference between tourism in this area and tourism in the United States is the national level accessibility and accommodation legislation on the one hand, which I'm not calling for, but just the public presence of this understanding of accommodation. So, I mean, that's an actual barrier in Canada that Canadian business doesn't realize that it has. People have been talking about it for decades. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Kurt. And again, so one of the things that I noted, if you reflect back to the update report that I provided, is we're taking a very strong look at the website that we have here at the county that is specifically for businesses. So it's the Economic Development in Frontenac website, and it's geared toward businesses. So we're really taking an active role now in putting as much information up there as we can to help them in terms of accessibility. So I'm almost wondering, Kurt, do you mind if we work together on this to make sure that I have the correct information up there as well? We can always flow this to the townships to say, here's our website, here's what we've put up for information, and so that they're able to make this information available for their respective businesses in their townships, as well as have print material if it's needed. Does that work?
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may, to Jeanette, Jeanette, I've been listening to this and the comments made by each of the individuals, and I agree with them in certain respect. But when you look at private business, what they do is they look at what is going to be the cost of us putting in a ramp to our private business? What's it going to cost to enlarge the washroom doors and put in the automatic accessible buttons? And there's a case of them evaluating is how much is this going to increase my business if I actually do this? And there's probably a huge lack of information in regard to how much business is out there that we're missing because we're not accessible. So I'm wondering, with Richard's access to the Economic Development Committee, if this isn't something that he could put on the agenda to inform or possibly inform the public per se as to what are they missing because their particular place of business is not accessible. So a lot of people, a certain percentage of the public just don't bother going there because they know they can't access it. So I think that might be a window in which we can communicate with the various businesses throughout the county. Because a lot of people don't visit the county webpage or site to access information. So the people who are looking for information on accessibility are basically the ones that are being shut out from a lot of those businesses. It's not the business owners that are accessing the accessibility web site of the county. So there might be an opportunity to Richard and the economic development there to have a little discussion around that point.
That's
Thank you,
good,
Mr.
yeah,
Chair.
that's good, Bill.
For sure. I can work with Richard to do that, to see what we can bring to CDAC as well, if that works. And I really would like to thank David for taking the time because you're doing exactly what your role is intended to be, to look out at your own municipality, see where the barriers are, and see how improvements can be made. So I really would like to give a shout out to David for bringing this to our attention and to everyone's attention on how we can more ensure that businesses in our municipalities are barrier-free and allow everyone access to them. So thank you, David.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. And also, I'll give you the mileage as well.
Yes, for sure. You
Well-
absolutely send that to me.
Well, I can give it to you right now.
Oh, okay.
Would you rather we emailed it to her?
Would you rather me email it to you, or I can just tell you now?
You can email it to me. That way, yeah, you can just email it to me.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. That's great information from everybody that we've been sharing here. So did we settle on July 5th then is the next meeting date?
If that works for everybody, I will put that in everyone's calendar.
That works for me for now anyways. Yeah.
What time?
10.
10, yeah.
Yeah.
July 5th, 10 o'clock.
Okay, well, if that's everything, then we'll, if I can I get a move to adjourn and a seconder, okay, Kurt and David.
Are we at the end of the meeting, Mr. Chair?
We are at the end of the meeting.
Okay,
all in favor
do I
of
make,
adjourn-
Jeanette, I don't want you to send any mileage to David Yerker. He's still cheering for the Ottawa Senators, so don't send him any support that way.
Wow,
So
Cut off the sanctions.
But does that not double the mileage though?
go Leafs, go David.
Oh, Sens go.
Please.
Leafs.
Sens.
Thanks everyone. Bye for
Thank you.
now.
Okay, thank